Hello guys, so great. You guys have now seen how we can actually provision an Ubuntu and Windows Server, right? So most of our environment or the infrastructure will be based on these two operating systems. So with that, we can say we have covered 99% of provisioning of servers on Azure cloud, right? Great. Now, what next? Are we done with just provisioning the servers? What additional things we have to do to make sure our servers are secure, right? And what additional things that we need to do on making our servers highly available? So those are the things that we are going to cover next in starting from this session, right? Today we are going to cover on the NSGs, that is network security groups, right? So why do we need NSG? Okay, what is the use of network security groups, right? So as you might have seen in the previous session, I touched base about a minute or two on the discussion about NSG, but this session is devoted only on NSG. So, on briefly speaking, what is NSG? NSG is like your firewall, right? So if you're using a laptop or any desktop or any workstation, right, you would nowadays will have your own firewall, which comes from along with the operating system, right? So if you talk about from the Azure perspective on servers, we have NSGs, right? So NSGs also perform the firewall capability on Windows Server. So it will block the inbound traffic and also the outbound traffic from the server. All right. So we are going to look in detail in this session, and then we will touch base on ASGs in the coming session. All right? Great. Stay tuned, and I'll see you in this session. Thank you. Welcome back, ProITians. So in this session we are going to talk about NSGs and ASGs, right? Let's start with NSGs. So what are NSGs? In full form it is Network Security Group. In short we call it as NSGs. So NSGs act as a virtual firewall to VMs in Azure. Okay, like how you have the firewall on your workstation, as we discussed in the last session, how you have this firewall in the workstation, locally workstation. Same way, Azure has its own mechanism to control traffic coming in and out of the VMs that are on Azure. Alright. So Azure, NSGs are used to control inbound and outbound traffic. It enforces security at subnet or NIC card level, right? NSGs can be different for each VM, so you can configure the inbound and outbound traffic individually on each virtual machine. Okay, let me go to the portal and show you what I mean out here. So I am now on the portal.azure.com and I'll go to the resource web server 01. Okay, so as you can see out here, this is my virtual machine information, and in settings I go to networking, and then out here I'll find the more informations about networking, right? So the public IP that is assigned to this interface is 40.88.3.180, and the private IP is 10.0.1.5. And these are all the inbound rules that is configured on my network interface card. Let me minimize this part of the portal. Alright, so now as you can see, I've got these rules which are created for inbound traffic, right? So at priority 300, this is for SSH port 22 on TCP protocol. Source is any, destination any, and it is set as allow, right? So similarly, we have other rules, and all these rules will actually be followed based on the priority. So priority 300 will be the most precedent about all these rules. So it will take the top priority, right? The lower the priority, the more precedence it will have, right? So this one will kick in first. Then the next rule is about VNet inbound, that is any source is virtual network and destination is virtual network. That means the server which is generating the traffic and it's trying to communicate with our web server 01, it will accept all the traffic on any protocol, any port, and it is going to allow that traffic, right? The next one is allow Azure load balancer inbound traffic. So in case of the traffic which is getting generated from load balancer, it is going to accept that traffic, right? And the last rule is if, that is for deny all. That means if none of these top rules matches, which is meant for allowed, then the last rule will kick in, that is to deny. So that's how it is. Now let's go back to our slide. So we have this VNet, right, which is 10.0.0.0/16, and then in that we have a subnet 10.0.1.0/24, right? And our web server is having an IP address as 10.0.1.5, right? So if any PC which is trying to communicate wants to communicate on our virtual machine, that is web server 01, it can only communicate on port 22, because our rule which is defined on the NSG for the inbound, it is only allowing port 22, right, and TCP traffic. So it is, if we are trying to do SSH on this virtual machine, we will be able to get through and we will be able to connect, which we have seen in the last sessions, right? If in case if we are trying to access this server on port 80 or port 443, that is the HTTP ports and HTTPS ports, it will be denied. The reason being, port 80 and port 443 is not defined here. So it is going to check and it will see it is not defined. So the last rule will kick in, that is any traffic on any port deny, right? Alright, so now let's move to outbound traffic. Let me show you the outbound traffic on the portal. So similarly, we have these rules for outbound traffic. Yeah? In that, we have this priority 6500, that is allow VNet outbound traffic. That means if a virtual machine wants to communicate to any other virtual machine in that VNet, it will be allowed, right? Then similarly for internet also, it is allowing. So that means if you're going to initiate a traffic on port 22, that inbound rule is, a virtual machine will accept because of the inbound rule, and then it is also going to connect to our client machine over the internet because of this rule. All right, yeah, and then if none of these two matches, then it is going to deny all. Right, great. Now let's look at ASGs. So what are ASGs? ASGs are application security gateway, right? So ASGs allow you to group virtual machines and define network security policies based on those groups. Conceptually, ASGs are similar to NSG. That means you're filtering the traffic on what needs to be allowed and what needs to be denied. So conceptually, both are same, right? The rules are added that control inbound and outbound traffic, and it helps in controlling inbound and outbound traffic. Now, this is just an overview of ASGs, and we are going to look at the practical creation of the ASGs in the next session, where we are going to configure our Ubuntu server for web portal. Yeah. So that is something which we are going to do in the next session. But for this session, I think we have covered quite a bit, right? Kindly subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to get notified. Until next time, keep watching and keep learning. Thank you.